Project Tribute Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to aiding our nation's first responders. Our vision and mission is to enhance the life-saving capabilities of our first responders through raising awareness and funding for the life-saving work that they do. Our goal with the podcast is to be an educational avenue and a method for our heroes to express themselves. In the podcast, we will discuss various tough subjects. Some of the subjects may be uncomfortable or controversial. Our guests have the right to share their thoughts and ideas, and for our listeners to hear the unedited words of our guests. The Foundation's role is to showcase a diverse array of thoughts and opinions within the first responder community. If you hear something that you do not agree with, please consider reaching out to us at projecttributefoundation@gmail.com and join our podcast. If you're a first responder and you would like to share your story, we truly would love to hear from you and learn from your experiences. Please enjoy this week's show, and as always, like, comment, and share to help us grow. You can find more information at www.projecttribute.com. Thanks and have a great one.
Hello and welcome to the Project Tribute podcast. I'm your host, James, and I have my co-host here,
Sarah.
All right, so today we're going to tackle a topic that might be a little touchy, but that's okay. It's something that needs to be discussed. So today the topic is going to be being a minority in law enforcement and how it helps and or hinders your job. So I'm going to jump right into this one. I'm a male and I am half black and half white. But on paperwork and stuff, if there's not an option for mixed, I do identify as African American as my primary trait. Or race, I mean. So when I was looking into law enforcement, I knew from the beginning that this was going to be something that was going to benefit me because there's not a whole lot of minorities in law enforcement. And that's not anything malicious or anything like that behind it. It's just that, to be honest, a lot of minorities don't apply for the job. And I do think that ties back into culture. Today's culture, especially in the minority communities, is a lot of negative things about police. So ACAB, F the police, don't ever talk to a cop, cops get no love from us, stuff like that, right? And when somebody of that, like when a minority, say they're a victim, a suspect, whatever, when they see somebody who looks like them, they're more inclined to have a certain amount of rapport already built up with that officer just because of how he looks. Say what you want about that. Say it's, bad, right? Because somebody's, just looking at the color of your skin. But it's just the way it is, somebody on our police force that is awesome, squared away, super professional, right? If they don't look like the person that they're talking to, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, if I show up on scene looking the way that I do, somebody's immediately like, oh, hey, that guy kind of looks like me, right? They already have a subliminal level of comfort talking to me over somebody that does not look like them, and that's helped me in my career because I'm able to communicate with people a little bit differently than and better than other people are, just solely based upon that. As I said, that's not 100% of the time, right? But it still does give me a little bit of an edge that helps me do my job better, so I think it's something that's really important, and it's really tough to get minority applicants to apply, just because of today's culture. So I mean, it's something that we want. Every police department wants more minority applicants to apply. There's no quota or anything like that. Like it's not like any agency needs, hey, we need to have 20 African Americans here.
Yeah.
We need to have 15 Hispanics here. There's no quotas or anything like that. And there's not even really any affirmative action when it comes to getting hired. It may help you a little bit, right? If you're still on par in all your other aspects, but say, hey, maybe we don't have a minority here at this department yet. This guy's just as good as everybody else, and he's a minority.
Mm-hmm.
So you may get picked over somebody else. Is that kind of a little edger? That's not going to be the primary reason, obviously, because that'd be jacked up. But
Yeah, absolutely.
it may help out your processes, just like a female officer,
Absolutely.
right? Like, hey, we don't have any female officers, and being a female is a little bit different because that directly relates to the job. Because a male shouldn't be searching a female suspect. You need to have a female officer do that. So if you're an agency that doesn't have any female officers, you're kind of up a creek, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, women and men can do the same job, but
For sure.
I mean, it's preferred a woman be a woman and a man search a man type thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So, do you run into like issues with being a mixed officer, or
So
like, would you change that?
no, I definitely wouldn't change it. I'm proud of the way I look and who I am. I think if it hindered my job in any way, it's really interesting when you're biracial, because certain people that we deal with will want to assign you which one you are that day.
Absolutely.
So it's
Have
like,
you been confused on that, or do they usually
I wouldn't even say,
mix?
I don't even
like,
feel like they're confused. Like, they know
yeah,
what I am, right? But they're wanting to take jabs at me or something. So they're like, oh, you're more white than you are black. You're just
Gotcha.
not going to use any racial slurs on here, but you're the C word for white
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah.
Or vice versa. If it's another suspect, they might say, oh, you dirty little N-word,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
something like that.
Absolutely.
For those that don't know, we police officers get called quite a few things in the book, and
Sometimes they use our race.
it's as long as they're not threatening us, it's their First Amendment right? They can,
Absolutely.
free speech. They can call us whatever they want to call us. We got to have thick skin. Sometimes it can be a little hard,
Yeah.
because you can get pretty frustrated, when somebody's talking about something that you can't change, right? Like
Yeah.
your skin color and stuff, and
Yeah.
somebody's belittling you because of that. But I mean, unfortunately, that's part of the job. People say all kind of stuff to us when they're when we're interacting with them in a negative way. Like, say we're writing them a ticket or we're arresting them for whatever, and we can get called all kind of stuff. And to a certain extent, it still can be aggravating and still hurt our feelings. But at the same time, I'd rather them be calling me stuff rather than trying to attack me or something like that. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So I got a question for you. I know I get this quite often on the streets, especially I know that I look white, but I am Hispanic. And have you ever got well, I'm your people, quote unquote?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
And I specifically remember one incident that really was like the epitome of that. Was this guy? I don't even remember his name, but say I did, I wouldn't mention his name anyway. But we initiated a traffic stop because he was suspended, like his driver's license was suspended,
Mm-hmm.
and he had like an out of date tag. So stopped him on the tag. When we were running his name and stuff, we found out his license was suspended. So in our municipality, that's an automatic thing. They go to jail for that city offense, right? It's just a misdemeanor citation, but we take you to jail and we tow your vehicle. That's just the way our municipality runs it. So as we're arresting him, get him out of the car and stuff, and we're being perfectly polite with him. He looks at me and he's like, "What are you doing? Why are you on their side?" This is an African American gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "Why are you with those Caucasian officers?
How did that make
you're
you feel?
betraying your own."
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it aggravated me because I was like, man, I'm not on a side. This has nothing to even do with race. This is you committed a traffic offense, and through our investigation, we found out that you were also suspended.
Mm-hmm.
In our municipality, you go to jail and you get issued a citation and your vehicle gets towed. That's just the way it is. It doesn't matter what skin color you were. right?
Yeah.
If you were in the same circumstance, we would have gone the same route with anybody. I mean, you could have been a Caucasian white lady, right? We
Mhm.
would have still gone this route if the circumstances still fit, because that's just the way it is, you know?
Yeah.
And it aggravated me because I was like, man, you know, and I can't remember if I thought this or if I actually said this to him, but I was just like, this is why, you know, in our culture, in African American culture, with rap music and stuff like that, this is why the hatred of the police is so prevalent because of mindsets like that,
Hmm.
right? It isn't a us versus you at all, right? We don't go out and hunt for any specific race of person.
Yeah.
We just do our job and we look at see, are you committing a crime? Are you not committing a crime? And we go forward from there. Race has nothing to do with it. So
Hmm.
when you're sitting there and saying that I'm on a certain team or I'm betraying you because I'm also black and you're black, you know, that's like you're just epitomizing that stigma of cops don't like African Americans, which is
Yeah.
not true. We arrest everybody, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
I
and we're
mean,
perfectly polite always. And I mean, we have all kind of people that have cuffs placed on them. There's no specific person or type of person that we're hunting for. We're just looking for crimes that are happening, and then we
absolutely.
act on that. So and just you know, it's just aggravating because it's like, you know, you want the relationship to get better. Because I mean, let's be honest, there is a strained relationship between officers and minorities, and you know, one of the ways to combat that is to have minorities become police officers because then they
Hmm.
can kind of see, hey, this is what we do. You know, and not just becoming police officers, ride-alongs, community outreach programs, all kind of stuff to show that we are not the enemy, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
there's criminals in every single race. We're just trying to make the community safer.
Hmm.
So I don't know that's one specific moment that I think I'll always think about just because and this individual was calling me like the N
The
word and all
N-word.
kind of stuff. You know, he's just like
It's
being
weird.
extremely vulgar.
Yeah, it's weird how that stuff happens. It's weird how that stuff just kind of like plays in their everyday life. And they think that we're supposed to pick sides
Yeah.
because, obviously you're black and I'm Hispanic. So, like, I ran into a lot of Hispanics that have been like, oh, well, there's never been a Spanish speaker in this department. So they've already treated me poorly.
Yeah, you speak
And
full Spanish, right?
correct. So
Yeah.
they expect me to treat them better as a normal plain Jane citizen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do try to help everybody. I don't say, oh, you are Hispanic, I'm going to help you more. And I
Mhm.
make sure that they know that. Like, we obviously try, strive to be an officer by the book.
Oh, for sure.
We're going to treat
Yeah.
everybody the same. Doesn't matter the race or anything like that. And I know that I appear white. I know that, I have green eyes and I have light skin and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I get the question asked a lot like, oh, you talk very good Spanish. Where are you from? How did you learn Spanish?
Mhm.
And, just me telling them like, hey, my mom is full blood Hispanic. My dad is, German, Irish, white male.
Mhm.
And that instantly built a rapport with them. So they know that I understand the culture.
Mhm.
They understand that I'm going to understand them to the full point,
Mhm.
and that I'm not somebody that has learned proper Spanish and I'm not going to be able to comprehend them. Which
Yeah.
there's different dialects in Spanish, and that's one thing that I've learned as a management in the restaurant field and as a police officer out in the field.
Yeah.
Like, I have to make sure that I try to talk as proper as possible because my slang and my dialect can offend somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that comes with who we are and what we are in our culture and what we stand for.
Have you had a kind of similar to what I said? Have you had a negative example of a
I don't
Like to where
know.
somebody was like, "You're betraying us," or something along those lines.
I've had a few. One has stuck with me. I don't know if you remember this. Was when you and I we pretty much started at the same time, and there was a older white male subject, and we were in his house, and my hair is naturally poofy and curly and
Mm-hmm.
out of whack. It's
And
usually
what's your
a
natural
mess.
hair color again?
It's brown.
Yeah.
It's a dark brown. And I remember us standing in his living room, and it was in an apartment, and him looking at me and being like, "You're a female." I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Yes, sir." He's like, he's a male officer. I was like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "Do you attend the same training as him?" And he was talking about you. I don't know if you remember this. And I was like, "Yes, sir, I do." And I remember him mentioning my hair, black. And then you had spoke up and you said, "No, I'm black and she's Hispanic."
Yes.
You know what I mean? So a lot of people will look at us and see that we're different,
Mm-hmm.
and they try to figure us out. And
Yep.
they try to judge us off our hair
Mm-hmm.
or the skin color. You know what I mean? Sometimes,
Oh yeah.
I mean, both of us were mixed, so
Yep.
we'll get darker in the summer. So in the summertime, I feel like we would deal with that a little bit more often. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even through the winter times, like you can tell people are judging us off the way that we look,
Oh, for sure.
which is good and bad.
Yeah.
From what I've experienced.
Why do you think that a lot of we have a hard time, like not even at just our specific agency, but agencies across the United States have a hard time recruiting minorities? The only departments that I've ever seen that have like dead even or the majority or minority officers are municipalities, counties, or states that have a huge population of minority people. So, for example, if you went to, um, Detroit, Michigan, right, a huge percentage of their police department. I haven't looked at any specific numbers or anything like that, but just from things I see them post and images of them, it looks like a huge percentage of their department is minority based. And if I remember correctly, that city is also has more minorities in it than it does like Caucasian people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So why do you think it's so hard for us to recruit minorities in areas that maybe they're not a large portion of the population?
Honestly, I think it goes back to our culture and our
I think
beliefs,
so too.
and really thinking into that. Like, I mean, let's set aside you and I, okay, and our department. We're very different in many ways. I mean, even you and I, we're both mixed people, and we still have a different culture. Obviously, you're
Yeah,
black, I'm Hispanic.
yeah.
So I think it's especially for Mexicans, like we've been the same for so long, and we have our culture and our beliefs that deep down inside will never change for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never change. When, you know, my parents taught me wrong for right, and it may be different from a different race.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally can see how you and I have stood out in the department that we're in right now,
Yeah.
just being mixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've tried to get because I have a lot of friends that are African American, Asian, Hispanic. I have a ton of friends, and I've tried to get them to apply, and it's just always like a dismissive kind of. It's interesting. It's like kind of a dismissive, like, "Oh, I could never do that." And I'm like, "Why? Like, why? Why couldn't you?" And it's never a specific answer. It's always kind of like a just broad. Oh, I could never do that. I could never be a cop. And it's never like a specific. Why couldn't you do that? Do you know what I mean? Like, apply. Or I've also tried to get people to come do ride-alongs too, like especially people that aren't fans of the police.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I haven't had a single one of my minority friends ride with me, and it's like, why not? Why just
Have
come and
you
give it a try? Like, do you think we're gonna
Have you ever asked
Have
those
you
hard questions?
take it to jail or something
Right.
like that? You know, like that's
Right.
not how it
Well,
works.
I mean, it's kind of like Hispanics. I've ran into a lot of Hispanics in our community, and they can definitely tell I'm bilingual.
Mm-hmm.
You can always tell. Like, one officer had called me like a week ago, and she said, "Hey, can you translate?" I was on the west side of town. You, of all people, know that we are assigned districts, so
Mm-hmm.
I was on the west side. She was on the east side. And I was like, "Yes, ma'am." I was like, "I just arrived on this traffic stop. I'll take a step back. There's other officers here, so everything is good." And I started talking Spanish to this subject, and I could tell by the tone of his Spanish that it was not his first language. You could tell it was like maybe his second or third,
Yeah.
because of the twang behind his Spanish.
I see.
And
Okay.
we started speaking, and he spoke very little Spanish, and then he got to the point of saying in Spanish, like, "I don't really know very much Spanish." And so I
okay.
got on the phone with that officer. I was like, "Ma'am, like, he stated he doesn't know very much Spanish, and I can tell by the twang of his Spanish that he does not. He's not lying. He sounds like a Red Dot Indian, like a different language is coming through."
Mm-hmm.
And so I was unable to communicate because I only know 2 different languages. And so, that was kind of an odd thing. Like, he stated he talked Spanish, but I was able to communicate to a specific point and realize that, okay, it's not a different dialect. I can tell by the twang of it that it's his maybe second or third language that he's barely learning.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So when you speak a different language, you can tell, like when an English speaker tries to start talking Spanish, they have this twang, como like "cómo estás" instead of like "cómo estás." Like there's a different twang to it where only us, we can comprehend that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. And real quick before we close it out, another great point on that. For example, when somebody only responds to like when you talk to them a certain way. So like you're not being vulgar to them, but like some people honestly do not listen unless you throw in a cuss word or two.
No, absolutely.
Because that's what they've grown up with, and they don't take it as you even being rude to them. They take it as, okay, this is serious now.
Absolutely.
Right. And we try not to do that because it looks terrible on video and stuff.
And it does,
but some people really only respond to that, right? If you talk to them professional, they think you're a weenie and they're not going to listen to you. But if you start throwing in some cuss words, a few, they kind of tighten up and they're like, okay, I'm listening now.
Correct.
And I think that's something. There's just so much to this job that the public thinks is automatically us being like bad or malicious or vulgar or something like that. Absolutely. When actually it's just that's the way this person is. That's the best way to solve this specific scenario, right? Yeah. If somebody's not listening, I'd rather throw in a few cuss words so they listen rather than me having to go hands on with this person, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's no use of force, there's no risk of this person getting hurt, things of that nature. So just piggybacking off of what you just said, I think that's another great point to where different people respond to different levels of communication.
Absolutely.
So
I agree.
All right. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end this segment. Once again, this is the Project Tribute Podcast. I'm your host, James, and our co-host here is
Sarah.
All right. Signing off. Thank you for listening.
This podcast is hosted by the Project Tribute Foundation. We are a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to aiding our first responders. Thank you for listening. For more information on our efforts, check us out at www.projecttribute.com. If you're a first responder that would like to share your story, contact us at projecttributefoundation@gmail.com. You can find us on various social media and podcast sites by searching the Project Tribute Foundation. 100% of donations are used to save lives, while our retail store pays for any of our operational costs. Thank you again, and please be sure to like us, follow us, and share our foundation with your friends. Thank you and have a great day.